I recently watched a show where a guy was being harassed by a Bigfoot, and he ran for his truck and jumped in it, and it wouldn't start. Um, he rolled up the windows and sat inside trying to watch outside, but as he was doing so, it was pitch black. He couldn't see anything. His fear at the time was a large arm would break through the glass of the window and pull him out. While I was watching that, it reminded me of my brother and I when we decided to chase after a Bigfoot. This was on just after midnight on about 14 November 2009. Several of the Bigfoot had come down to our camp and were sitting on the hills around the campsite, just out of sight and just outside of the light circle, and they were screaming at us. Of course, it had many of the researchers that were with us unnerved. This went on for well over 2 hours. Then one of the vocalizers kind of made a mistake and repositioned itself on a hill to the east of the camp. Well, this put him on the hill that was right in between the road access to the camp and the highway. And so we thought that if we could get out to the highway, we could cut off his method of escape. The access road is kind of rough and rocky and stuff, and the dirt highway is just that. It's a dirt 2-lane highway. So we went over and we quietly told the other researchers what we were going to do, and they were more than willing to stay in camp and keep the fires blazing. I think they were going to burn down the forest if they ran out of wood. But anyway, so we bolted for the trucks, hoping that we looked terrified enough, which we were really, in hopes that we could trick the Bigfoot into thinking he had basically chased us away. Well, the race was on. We hit the highway and sped to where we figured the Bigfoot had to cross. Upon the approach, we shut off our lights and the engine and coasted in place. When the lights went out, it was pitch black. We couldn't even see each other sitting in the same seat. We rolled down the windows to listen as we prepared our cameras because we wanted to be able to hit the lights as soon as we knew he was in the road and have the cameras running at that specific time as it crossed the road so that we wouldn't lose the shot. Because if we turned on the lights, cameras weren't ready and they malfunctioned or whatever, then we'd lost a good chance. So there we were, sitting in the dark, listening with the windows rolled down, and then it dawned on me. What if it was standing right next to the truck with me hanging my head out the window? I couldn't see diddly. My other senses all of a sudden came alive. I could all of a sudden hear my brother's heartbeat, his accelerating breath. Basically, he had pretty much the same thought I did, almost at the same time. Suddenly, a scream sounded about 100 yards in front of us in a thicket near the highway. Oh boy, was I relieved, until we decided to try it again. We fired up the truck, the lights went on, and away we went, watching for anything crossing the roads. As we approached, we killed the engine and shut off the lights again. Heads out the window, we sat and listened. This time we knew we were close, and my heart was making a whole lot of noise. I could hear my own heartbeat. I flashed back to when I was in Southeast Asia, when I was hiding in the reeds in a rice paddy. The communists had overrun the perimeter of the base, and I was separated from the rest of the GIs. Charlie knew I was out there somewhere, and they were looking for me. My only option was to be quiet and stay up to my eyes in water until I needed a breath. Then it was just pop up far enough to get my mouth above water, take a breath, and then submerge again. Suddenly I snapped back to reality. Another truck came rolling up to us their lights were off. It was another group of our people. They decided to come and help. This was too soon. A scream sounded not more than 50 yards away, and we all started piling out of the vehicles to give chase. Then it happened. The other truck owner locked his doors, and the car chirped in an acknowledgement. We heard the bushes move, and our Bigfoot was never heard from again. Okay, I'm going to do a real quick question from Bev Coombs, and she says, Mitch, from your experience, do the Bigfoot prefer meats or fruits and nuts if they have a choice? That's a very good question. I really think that they're opportunistic type creatures, and if you flop a hamburger in front of them, they'd probably eat that. From what I have observed is, and through the taste testings that I've done, they basically want what they can't get for themselves. For instance, in the hot zone, there are plenty of apple trees. So when I go there and I offer them an apple, that apple gets ignored. It never gets taken. However, I have tried other things. I have put out at the same time some ham, some beef, some elk, and some turkey. All of them were cooked and so forth. But guess which one they took? Yep, they took the ham, because basically they can't get the ham. It tastes good. They like it. And I've also found out that they really like pork chops too. But if you really want to attract them in, they prefer the sweets. They love a good Nutty Buddy bar or some chocolate or anything that's sweet. They just absolutely love that. So that's it for today.